It was 3 centimeters. That's all that stood between my family's safe day out and a 2-year war against a man who thought his daddy's money made him untouchable. He thought flattening my tires was the end of it. He had no idea it was just the beginning, and that the final bill for his tantrum would be his freedom. Have you ever been so wrong that the anger just settled in your bones? That feeling of pure righteous injustice. If you know that feeling, then you're in the right place. Subscribe and hit that like button because today's story is a masterclass in patience, persistence, and the profoundly satisfying taste of legal vengeance. This is a story for everyone who's ever been underestimated. Let's dive in. The day it started was like any other Saturday. My wife, my 2 young kids, and I were headed into the city. The goal? Simple fun. Mini golf, maybe some ice cream, the kind of day where your biggest worry is whether you get chocolate or rainbow sprinkles. We pulled into the multi-story parking garage, the car buzzing with chatter and kid energy. But that energy faded as we wound our way up, level after level, each one a solid block of gleaming metal. Every single space was taken. My stomach began to sink. Just as I was about to give up, my wife pointed. There, one left. A wave of relief. But it was short-lived. There, in the spot, was a sleek silver BMW. But it wasn't parked. It was posed. Towed in at a cocky angle, hogging the line, leaving just a sliver of space on its passenger side. It was a parking job that screamed, "The rules are for other people." I found the attendant, a woman who looked just as tired of the chaos as I was. I pointed to the spot. "Is that really it?" She just sighed, nodding. "System says it's the last one. He must have forced it in. Sorry." A choice. Do we leave, disappoint 2 excited kids, and drive around for another half hour? Or do I make it work? I looked in the rearview mirror. 2 pairs of hopeful eyes looked back. That made the choice easy. I inched our sensible, practical family sedan into that sliver of space. It took maneuvering so precise you could perform surgery with it. When I finally cut the engine, I measured the gap. 3 centimeters. I had to clamber over the gear stick and out the passenger door, much to my kids' amusement. We laughed about it. Dad's an acrobat now. We went on with our day. But hours later, the laughter was a distant memory. The BMW was gone, and in its place, 2 of my tires were slumped on the asphalt, completely, utterly flat. The ice cream in my stomach turned to a cold, hard stone. This wasn't an accident. This was a message, a violent, petty, expensive message. My hands clenched into fists. The heat of a pure, unadulterated rage shot up my neck. My family car, the car that takes my kids to school. Someone had deliberately violated it because their entitled exit was slightly inconvenienced. The parking attendant saw my face. She called her manager. They offered to send a mechanic in an hour. My wife, seeing the storm behind my eyes, wisely took the kids home in a taxi. I stayed, alone, in that concrete cavern, the smell of gasoline and injustice filling my lungs. And that's when the switch flipped. This wasn't just anger anymore. It was a cold, focused determination. This guy wasn't just going to get away with it because he drove a nicer car. I called the police. I demanded the CCTV footage from the manager. He hesitated, said company policy, needed a report. So I made a report. Right there. Official. The manager's tone changed. Now I was talking to their legal department. The game was on. And wouldn't you know it, the mechanic showed up minutes after I'd set the legal wheels in motion. He pumped up my tires. I drove home on pins and needles, but my mind wasn't on the road. It was on a video file. What followed was a masterclass in bureaucratic obstruction. For 3 months, I became a ghost in their voicemail system. We're looking into it. The system is slow. We've sent the request. The first video they sent the police was from the wrong camera. The second was the right camera, but the wrong day. It was a dance, and I refused to leave the floor. Finally, the full unedited video arrived, and it was everything I hoped for and more. Crystal clear. You see the BMW driver, a young guy, late teens, early 20s, dressed in clothes that cost more than my tire, strut over to my car. He looks at the 3-centimeter gap. He doesn't see a father who made it work for his family. He sees an affront. He makes these ridiculous, exaggerated, angry gestures like a child denied a toy. Then the pièce de résistance. He gets back in his BMW, pulls out, gets out again, and calmly, deliberately kneels down and deflates my tires. The entire act took less than a minute. It was so casual, so utterly devoid of conscience. I amended my complaint. It was no longer just vandalism. It was him. I had his face. I had his license plate. His fate was now tied to a case number in a system that moves with the slow, grinding inevitability of tectonic plates. Then the first real fear showed its face. Not from him, but from his shield. A letter arrived. An invitation to arbitration. A private, quiet, behind closed doors handshake where a payoff is made and a record is erased. I felt a thrill. They were scared. I replied with one sentence. This matter will be resolved through the judicial system. And I stapled that offer to my growing file. A week later, a lawyer called. Smooth voice, expensive suit, practically audible through the receiver. He offered me a few thousand soles to be reasonable. Said the kid was from a good family, that he was mad and made a mistake, that I shouldn't let this go too far. Let this go too far? He slashed my tires. The audacity to frame me as the unreasonable one for not accepting a bribe to look the other way? It was the most insulting part of the whole ordeal. I told him no to everything and to never contact me again unless it was through the court. The calls kept coming. Every few months, a new number, a new lawyer with a slightly better offer. Each one was a shot of adrenaline. Each refusal made my court case stronger. Every offer was documented, amended, added to the file. I was building a wall, brick by bureaucratic brick, and they were handing me the mortar. The court date arrived. 11 months later. The air in the courtroom was cold and smelled of old wood and anxiety. And there he was, Martin, flanked by his daddy and their very expensive, very tired-looking lawyer. They tried one last desperate pitch for a deal. My lawyer looked at me. I just shook my head. The word no had never felt more powerful. The case was over almost before it began. The video played on a screen. In the sterile silence of the courtroom, his actions didn't look entitled. They looked pathetic, petty, criminal. There was no defense. The adjudication was swift. Guilty. Vandalism. The sentence, 50 days fine, calculated at 50% of his daily income, a sum that stung, coming to around $1,700. But the real jewel, 90 days of home arrest, electronic monitoring. For 3 months, his world would shrink to the size of his house. No clubs, no parties, no driving his precious BMW. They appealed, of course. The rich always appeal. It was thrown out. The verdict was final. The payment deadline was set, October 10th. Pay up or trade his ankle bracelet for a jail cell. And then yesterday, the call. Not from a lawyer, from Daddy's accountant, asking for my bank details. The transfer hit today. 2 years later, the financial part is settled. But the money was never the point. The point was the principle. The point was that for 90 days, Martin gets to sit at home and think about the consequences of his actions. And as the cherry on top, I found out his university doesn't accept home arrest as an excused absence. He'll lose all his credits for the semester, his entire academic timeline, derailed by a 3 centimeter parking space and a temper tantrum. So, Martin, if you're out there scrolling through Reddit, enjoy your extended vacation. I hope the Wi-Fi is good. And maybe, just maybe, think about that next time you feel the urge to screw with a stranger's life, especially one who has nothing but time and a profound belief in justice on his side. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you let the system do the talking. The satisfaction isn't in the screaming, it's in the waiting. If you felt that satisfaction, pay it forward. Smash that like button, subscribe for more tales of ultimate vindication, and let me know in the comments, what's the pettiest thing you've ever seen someone get their full comeuppance for? Thanks for watching. Until next time.